Hey besties, and welcome back to my channel. In this video, I'm going to be talking about my best books of 2023. I've read a lot of mediocre books this year, but I've also had some really standout favorites. So curating this list was kind of easy, but also kind of painful because I did leave out another few favorite books that I will just be giving an honorable mention to at the end. And if you do want to check out some of my other highly rated books from this year, be sure to head over to my Goodreads. It is linked in the description. Filter by rating and you'll find all the recommendations. But without further ado, let's get into talking about my favorite books of 2023. So my top 3 favorite books are solidified. That is their position, that is their ranking, because I am ranking it my top 6 in this video, 1 through 6, just to make things a little bit more interesting. But the top 3 are solidified. That is where they belong. The bottom 3, however, they kind of mix and match. They can change depending on my mood. So currently this ranking is accurate to the 21st of December and potentially the 21st of December only. But they do still remain as my top 6. First up is actually a book that I finished very recently. I finished it yesterday. It is the Canary Cowards by Jessie Hall. Jessie Hall is kind of known for and traditionally writes dark romance, like stalker, cat and mouse equivalent, very dark romance. And so when I saw her write a football romance, I wasn't entirely sure what to expect. The Canary Cowards is about our main characters, Lake and Dylan. Lake is the star running back for the city's NFL team, and he has recently suffered a season-ending injury to his knee. However, he is determined to make it back to the field in record time. He really wants to prove to himself that he can do it, and he also has another little underlying motivating factor, and that is that his mum is dying from cancer, and he really wants to give her something to live for, essentially, and something to look forward to, and he really just wants to make her proud. And so this is where Dylan enters the picture. Dylan is a physiotherapist who holds the record, I guess, for the quickest recovery and quickest return to play for a player, a footballer with a similar injury to Lake's. And so he is determined to work with her no matter how much they butt heads. In the beginning, Lake has a lot of preconceived opinions and ideas about Dylan, and they're not great. He's a very judgmental person, and the poor girl, she's just trying to do her best and keep her and her brother afloat. Despite Lake being the very definition of a grumpy asshole, I really enjoyed their gradual relationship development and progression throughout the book. It felt like right up until the very end, Dylan and Lake were really fighting for each other despite what life threw at them, and my god, did life throw a lot at them. Their dynamic felt not only realistic but so raw. Watching them fight for each other and battle through miscommunications, but also grow individually into their own characters and overcome their insecurities and weaknesses. I really just enjoyed and adored watching them kind of shine under each other's light. It was very sweet. I did indeed cry some happy tears. I also cried some sad tears. I also laughed. This book really put me through the ringer, and I'm not sure how I'm going to keep on living it now that I finished it because it was just so perfect. Book number 2 is the one that has actually sat on the throne of my favorite book of this year for the past 11 months, that is until the Canary Cowards came along, and that is of course A Quarterback Sneak by Candy Steiner. Now, it's not lost on me that my 2 favorite books of 2023 are physiotherapist NFL romances, and I'm not quite sure how that happened, but what can I say? I love a little bit of forbidden sexual tension, and I just really grew attached to the characters in both of these books, so they're both very much deserving of my top 2 places. So in Quarterback Sneak, Julep is our heroine, and she's really struggling coming to terms with losing her sister. Her dad, who is conveniently the football coach, helps her secure a somewhat of an internship with the football team as their physiotherapist. And similarly to the Canary Cowards, Holden, our hero in this book, is suffering from a pretty bad knee injury. Both of the characters in this book have experienced some really hard, devastating losses, but the secret and stolen moments of just sharing and sitting in each other's trauma and just learning and empathizing with each other made for some really beautiful moments. And obviously there's the sneaking around aspect as well, because Holden is on the team and Julep's dad is the coach, but this book just has so many beautiful moments of connection, and I absolutely adore the 2 of these characters so much. Holden is such a sweetie pie, and I love both of them together so much. Now, moving on to number 3 on the list, we do actually have another sports romance. Now, while I do love a good sports romance, I think the only reason there is so many on my list is because I read so many of them this year. I definitely read my fair share of bad sports romances, and these ones just happen to be the best of the best. Now, this third book was actually a very pleasant surprise for me. I haven't had the best luck with this author's recent releases, but when I tell you, this book is everything that I could have hoped for and more. Oh my god, do I mean it? This right here is The Graham Effect by Elle Kennedy. The Graham Effect follows Gigi Graham, who is of course Garrett Graham's daughter, and her goal throughout this entire book is to get recruited onto Team USA to play in the Olympics. Gigi and our hero Ryder strike up a mutually beneficial and symbiotic deal where Ryder helps Gigi work on her hockey behind the net, and Gigi puts in a good word for Ryder with her superstar dad. This book had all of the college vibes, and it also had a really big found family friendship group, as well as having a very nice amount of hockey mixed in. We did of course follow the subplot of the Eastwood and Briar U men's hockey teams merging and all of the tumultuous team bonding that they had to endure, as well as a lot of angst and some very delicious ex-boyfriend drama. I just love this book so much. It really felt like Elle Kennedy was coming back to her roots, and I'm very excited for the next book in this series. I really hope she never stops writing hockey romances. Coming in at number 4 on the list is a book that I think I talked a lot about earlier on in the year when I first read it, but it's kind of died off on my channel towards the end of the year. However, this book absolutely deserves a spot in my favorites list. It is of course Midnight Kisses by Janine Benedict. Midnight Kisses follows Greta and Otis. Otis again is another footballer struggling with a knee injury, and this kind of leaves him in a pretty dark headspace. I really think the fictional NFL should be doing more for these players and their knees. Now, very early on in this book, Greta and Otis actually meet at a party and they hit it off right away. Of course, they go back to Greta's apartment where they not only hook up, but they talk for like chapters and chapters on end, just really getting to know each other because they click so well. Greta is actually conveniently the daughter of the football coach, and she's struggling with her own traumas as well. She's really just battling with the grief of losing her brother and how to actually navigate the world now without him. And her and Otis kind of just end up drowning in each other, using each other for highs, and then ultimately having it to fight off the lows that follow. If I had to give this book just one commendation, it would be how perfectly flawed our characters are and how Janine really embraces it. Greta can indeed be a little bit of a brat, and Otis does have some anger issues, but they really try their best for each other, and it just makes them feel like such real people. And I think that is ultimately why I fell in love with this book so much, is because the character depth and development and arcs in this book, it made me so happy seeing how much both characters independently grow but then come back and grow together. Next up on my favorites list, we have book number 5. Now, this is probably admittedly the biggest book of the year, and it is of course Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros. This is a romance fantasy that follows our main characters Violet and Xaden through their journey at Basgiath War College. Violet is a first year, and we actually get some really great disability representation in her character as she has Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, which is a connective tissue disorder, and Violet is aspiring to join the Scribe Quadrant. She's been training for it her entire life. She absolutely adores reading and loves everything about the lifestyle that comes with it. However, her mother, who is the general of the college, has other ideas for her and essentially upends Violet's entire life and entire life plan and enrolls her into the Dragon Riders Quadrant. Here we meet Xaden, who is a third year and the kind of commander of their little squadron. Now, Violet's mother and her associates essentially wiped out Xaden's entire people following a rebellion, and so Xaden has a thing or two against Violet, as he should, and he obviously lets her know. And I ran out of storage on my phone. However, as this is a romantasy, the enemies become lovers, and we very quickly get introduced to a fantastic cast of characters who are all having to band together to stay alive. Was Fourth Wing a very easy spoon-feeding fantasy? Yes, but I still adored it. It had such an addictive quality to it that I literally could not put it down. I was at work literally daydreaming about Violet and Xaden riding their dragons through the mountains because it was just so immersive and I really loved it. 6th on my list, we have a bit of a romantic mystery, thriller, romantic suspense kind of book. Going into this book, I knew it was going to be good, but I was blown away by how addicting it was and how much I actually loved it. And that book, of course, is Crimson River by Devney Perry. Crimson River follows Lila and Vance, romance. And Lila Eden owns and runs Eden Coffee in small town Quincy, Montana. She is a workaholic, and naturally her family get a little bit worried about how much time she spends at this cafe, and so they send in one of her sisters to try and give her a day off. And so Lila heads up to the mountains for a hike. However, a little ways into her hike, she drifts off of the path to go and get a drink from a nearby stream, and subsequently finds herself getting choked out by a strange man. This guy flees again as fast as he appears, leaving Lila pretty understandably panicked and very bruised. And in comes our hero Vance, who is a cop with a tarnished badge who's been trying to solve a murder mystery for the past 10 years, and he believes that this guy that choked out Lila is his man. The two of them go on this mission to scour the countryside and the mountains in search of this guy, and their relationship and romance just very gradually develops. They are both, of course, initially attracted to each other, but the added pressure of working together and Vance's overprotectiveness does have them gravitating towards each other. This book was just fantastic, and I did not see the twists and turns coming whatsoever. They took me totally by surprise, and it definitely added to the very addictive quality of this book. I literally could not put it down, and I'm very, very excited to see what Devney comes up with next. Her new releases, I swear, just keep getting better and better. And with that, we have my top favorite 6 books of the year. However, I do have some very honorable mentions for you. These 4 books that I'm about to mention were all incredible. I loved all of them. They just didn't quite reach that level of perfection that these 6 did. So the first honorable mention is The Heir by Sophie Larker. This is the first book in her Kingmaker series, and it is by far my favorite of the series. I enjoyed this one so much. It's essentially a mafia college set on a remote island, and they take part in these like competition games things that don't quite reach fantastical level, but they are so intense and such a fun time to read about. There is of course a romance in it as well, because I can't read anything without romance. Number 2 of my honorable mentions, you've heard me rave about this book time and time again. This is Playing by the Rules by Monica Murphy. This book has its flaws, but in my opinion it is the blueprint for a forbidden college brother's best friend romance. It has all of the stereotypical sneaky around it that I could wish for, and I had the time of my life with this book. I really loved it so much. Number 3 for my honorable mentions is Rewrite Our Story by Kat Singleton. This is another brother's best friend romance set in a small mountainous town. While I loved this entire book, the reason it's not in my top 6 is because the present chapters didn't quite grab me. However, the past chapters are the entire reason this book is getting this honorable mention. They were just so perfect and really captured the like warmth feeling of teenage love. I loved it so much. And last but certainly not least of my honorable mentions, we have The Words by A. Jade. This is a second chance rock star romance between 2 very traumatized main characters, and I just had such a good time reading this. There is so much angst, and A. Jade does such a fantastic job of making nearly 700 pages feel like nothing. I seriously cannot wait to keep investigating and reading her backlist. So there we have my 6 favorite reads of 2023, and of course my honorable mentions, because I couldn't help myself. I really hope you guys have enjoyed watching today's video. I really hope I've convinced you to read some of my favorite books. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. If you did enjoy, please don't forget to like, comment and subscribe, because I would absolutely love to have you here. My Bookstagram and Goodreads is always linked in the description if you want to check them out and keep up with what I'm reading. I'm going to try my very best to get 1 or 2 more videos out to you guys this year, because I've really been on a roll posting this past month, and I'm loving it so much. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching for like the 3rd time once again, and yeah, I will hopefully see you in the next one. Bye!